Hi, I'm Marie Gale, and I'm the author of Good Manufacturing Practices for Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Makers, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about good manufacturing practices and how to get started. Good manufacturing practices are the quality assurance processes that go into making sure that your product is consistently produced and quality controlled so that you get the same product every time you make a batch. The keys here are consistency and controlled. When you are looking for consistency, you just want to make sure that each batch you make is consistent. If somebody's looking to buy lavender soap from you, they expect it to be the same batch to batch. When you're making your product, you want to have control over your processes, and that's where the controlled aspect comes in. You don't want to be just randomly making your products. You want to have a controlled process that you know is going to come out the same every time. There are good manufacturing standards or guidelines that are produced both in the European Union and in the United States. The United States have regulations in place for food and drug manufacturing, but not in regulations for cosmetics at this time. What we do have in the United States is a guideline that an FDA inspector would look at if they came to your facility. What they're looking for is to make sure that you have practices in place to make sure that your products aren't going to get screwed up or adulterated. You're not going to get dirt or filth in the product. And they know that if you follow your procedures, your product is going to be safe and effective. For handcrafters, the key things are having standard operating procedures in place, having batches and batch records in place, and having control over your incoming ingredients and supplies. Those are the places that handcrafters most often fall down. For your standard operating procedures, you need written, documented procedures in place to cover all of the main things that you do to make sure your products are safe. That would include things like, how do you clean your premises? How do you make sure that your countertops are clean and safe for making your products? How do you clean your equipment? What kind of maintenance does your equipment need? One place that's pretty important is making sure that your scale is calibrated. Most scales come with procedures for calibration, and if you follow your procedures for doing that, you know that every time you use your scale, you're going to be measuring correctly. Correct measurements are key to making sure that your product comes out right every time. Other things that require or should have standard operating procedures include things like making sure that you have some kind of control, that you don't have pests, insects, mice, other animals getting into your production area. Having screens on your windows so you don't get bugs coming in. Whether or not you open or close your windows to make sure you keep dust out of the area. Ensuring that you don't have pets or small animals, children, visitors, relatives, and other people and things that could affect your product. As I mentioned, one of the key places that handcrafters fall down has to do with recording and keeping track of your incoming ingredients. First of all, you should have a master recipe for every product that you make, and it should list out all the ingredients that are required. Not only that, your ingredients should have some sort of specifications to make sure that when you order the ingredients, you're getting the exact same thing each time. Going back to that lavender soap example, if you ordered one type of coconut oil one time and a different type another time, you're going to end up with a different soap. So you need the specifications in place to make sure that you get the same ingredients in the product every time. That way, when you order your ingredients, you know that you're ordering exactly the same thing, even if you order from a different company. Your specification sheet should have things like what color the ingredient should be, what the technical specifications are. If it's an oil, it would include things like the refinement level, the process, the melt point. If you're looking at essential oils, you would be making sure that it comes from the same location and the same plant type. Those things go into making a consistent product, and if you have your standards in place, you know your end result is going to be the same each time. When you get a new product in, having say ordered lavender essential oil, when you get the product in-house, the package, when you open it, make sure that it doesn't have any damage to the outside of the package. You should have a checklist in place to go through to make sure that your products are what you expect them to be. So if you order lavender essential oil, you'd be making sure that the package wasn't damaged, you got what you ordered, it matches with the invoice, and then, and this is a very important point, you would assign that package of lavender oil a specific and unique lot number. The lot numbers are really important because they give you the ability to track where you got an ingredient, when you got an ingredient, and where that ingredient was used. You want to have some sort of log that's going to keep track of that, so if you ever need to go back, you can track exactly where that ingredient came from. That leads into your batch records. Each time you make a batch, regardless of the size, you should have an exact record of exactly what was done. You have your master recipe, which tells you what you need to do, and theoretically, every time you make a batch, it's going to follow that master recipe exactly. But sometimes things happen. So what you want to do is have a record of what exactly happened for this batch. When you're making your batch record, you want to have a checklist that goes down each step that you need to do so you can check it off when you've completed that step. It should have the amounts of each ingredient, and you can check it off when you've weighed out that ingredient and when you've added it to the batch. Not only that, when you add that ingredient, you should look at the ingredient package itself, and it should have on it the lot number that you assigned. So you can write down the lot number of the ingredient on your batch record, and now you have a record of exactly where that ingredient was used and what batch it was used in. If you ever run into any kind of trouble with your batches, or you get informed by a supplier that your ingredient had some problems, you'll know exactly what products you need to take a look at. As you're going through making your batch record and checking off each of the things that's done, you should also add in any quality checks that you do along the way. Do you look at it and make sure it's a certain consistency? Is it supposed to be a certain color? Do you check it to see if it's the right temperature, whatever that should be? As you go through, you write these things down so you have a permanent record. At the end of it, you should have a product that is consistent and controlled and is the same every time. One of the things about a batch record is that because you're making individual batches, you can also assign a number to that batch, put that number on your package, and now you have a track all the way from the beginning to the end. When you started out, you went through your procedures to clean your area, to make sure everything was ready, to check your equipment. When you started your batch, you got all of your ingredients together and you wrote down the batch numbers or the lot numbers for those ingredients. When you finished your batch, you had a record of everything that was done to make that batch. If you got interrupted with a phone call or something, you know where you can pick up, and you know that you still got your batch completed as it should be. At the end, you have a finished, consistent product, and now you know that you can sell the product with certainty that it's going to be the same every time. Finally, you should keep one item from your batch and hold it aside as a sample of that batch. If, for example, you made 48 lotions, you might want to take one of those lotions, or maybe a small amount of lotion in a smaller bottle, label it and set it aside so you know that that's a sample of that batch. Later you can take a look at it, and if there's any problems with it, you'll know what batch that came from and know what to do about it. In the unlikely event that a customer contacted you and said there was something wrong with the lotion or the soap or the cream or whatever they bought, you can ask them, what's the lot number or the batch number that's on the package. When did they buy it, what kind of product it is, and from that you'll be able to track back what batch it is, and you can look at your sample. Maybe your sample is fine, but they're saying there's something the matter. You could maybe use that as a way to determine if you have to change your preservation system or make other changes to make sure your product stays consistent and controlled and of high quality so that your customers are always satisfied with what they purchase from you. That's the whole reason for good manufacturing practices. What you want to do is ensure that your customer is happy and that they come back and that they buy again and again. That's only going to happen if they have certainty with your products and are happy with them. And you can achieve that by making sure you have good manufacturing practices in place. I hope this video has been helpful to you, and it will give you some tools to use in making sure that your products are consistent, controlled, and of high quality. If you're looking for other videos and information on how to make handcrafted soap and cosmetics, check out the how-to library on the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild website, www.soapguild.org.